Hey guys, welcome to Wednesday with Ra. And today on episode 8, we're going to be talking about releasing limiting beliefs and letting go of obstacles to embrace your true awakening. So let me again get Maggie in here so we can view everyone. And we welcome your comments in the chat. And yeah, there we go. So we did it this time. It's so interesting because sometimes it comes up and it automatically starts talking, but this time it was all muted. So it worked. Episode 8 was the first episode that it actually worked on. So welcome, Maggie.
Hello.
So where do we want to start today? I know that Ra calls this episode 8. He calls it getting your head out of your ass, but we wanted to go about it a little bit more gingerly than that. But I'm sure that he has a lot to say. I know Maggie's been texting me today saying that he's been around all day and is excited about tonight. So we welcome your comments in the chat. Please feel free to chat with us as we delve into this. So where do you want to start?
There's so many places to start with this topic. I guess we should probably tap into... There's always things that are limiting people, but I'm sure that there are things that are coming up, especially now that feel limiting. I know for me, there are a lot of issues around... what are my issues around lately? I think about... setting boundaries with people and applying my own energy in my life. I tend to be a person who lets other people dictate the way that I move in the world. I tend to be too much in the energy of service to others, that if someone else needs something, I will run to help that person. And if I need something at that moment, I'll put that aside. And then I have all of these things that I put aside that I wanted to get done for myself, or this energy that I wanted to preserve for myself. And I end up getting tired because it's difficult for me sometimes to set boundaries with people. And I think for me, that's my biggest sort of self-sabotaging, self-limiting belief, is that other people are more important than me, or their needs are more important than mine. And I put other people first, which is not necessarily a bad thing to care about other people, but it is when it's at the expense of your own energy. And that's something that I'm working on right now. Do you have anything that you're working on in stuff that's limiting you?
I'm always working on letting go of my beliefs that things that I'm experiencing are not actually happening, that I somehow have made these things up, or that somehow it's not real or it's not tangible. And so it's a constant limiting belief that I have to remind myself about, because I think for all humans living on this planet, we're all at different stages of our awakening. And for some of us, we experience a lot. And for some others, we struggle with it. And for myself, I do both. So, some days I'm like, oh my gosh, Maggie, guess what just happened? This is totally crazy. And other days I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm so done because this can't be real. This can't be actually happening. And what I find out what happens with that is it brings me into a spiral where, when I don't believe in myself, not only do I not let through the guidance that needs to come through, or I don't let my teams and guides through, but it also lowers my energy so much so that other things start happening, and I get frustrated or angry, or it's like this spiral that happens when you're not standing in your true self and not allowing unlimited belief systems, or something that, hey, maybe nobody else has experienced this, but this is what I'm experiencing. And it doesn't make me crazy. It just makes me tapped into something different that the normal human collective isn't aware of. And so I try to remind myself of that a lot. And I think the other thing that I'm working on is always releasing the belief system that I have that I'm just trying to think of like the way Michael put it to me once was that I hold people to such high standards that nobody can match my standards, and that frustrates me. And I am constantly working with that to remember that even though I don't think I do that, Michael's can have his opinion. I do recognize that I do kind of, I'm not even sure how to explain it. I do expect that people are true to what they say, and I expect them to hold themselves in a certain way if that's the way they come off showing me. And so it always throws me when people, I notice that people are well-rounded and I've only like looked at one aspect of them. So I'm trying to constantly remind myself that even though I have my own world, I can't make people live in my world. It doesn't work that way. And sometimes that's frustrating because you feel so alone because you are experiencing this, and you want people to come along with you, but the people that you want to come along with you just either aren't there or it's not in their vibration. And it doesn't make it wrong. But it can be frustrating it has been frustrating to me. So that is some of the things that I'm working on.
I think that segues really nicely into a lot of stuff that Ra has said about limiting belief systems and being your true authentic self. Ra has channeled in the last half of this year a lot about being true to your authentic self, what it means to do that and what it means not to do that. And we are raised in a society, we grow up with this conditioning that you are never really taught to explore who you truly are. You're supposed to be like this, and you're supposed to get this done, and you're supposed to fall within these paradigms and within these boxes. And within that belief system, other people are too. You expect yourself to be a certain way, and you measure yourself against these standards, and you measure everybody else against those standards too. And we're not taught at all that everyone is their own unique self with their own unique path. There are set paths that vary here and there that people are allowed to follow, but to deviate from that is not within our conditioning at all. So I can totally understand why, when these things are happening that feel outside of our world, even people who are in spiritual practice like us and in contact with the higher dimensions and higher realms and doing work there, even for us who's living in that all the time, it can be hard for our minds to accept it because the human mind is so programmed. It's been so since birth, and it's really, really hard to deprogram yourself from that, even if you're consciously aware of all of these things, because the mind wants to believe what it believes, and to take out all that programming and reprogram it over the course that's been programmed over the course of a life. It's difficult. It's not difficult work. I wouldn't say that it's very, very, very difficult. I would say that you have to have a lot of diligence with that work.
Right. I definitely agree. And so when we asked Ra about tonight's topic, and he gave us his answer as to what he would like it to be called, I was like, well, why don't you give me a card so like Maggie and I can like think of a way to phrase it, which isn't so harsh. And so we work with these cards called the Galactic Heritage deck a lot. And the card that came out, I think, fit this really well. And I'm just going to read it. I don't think I have the card. I don't have the card in front of me, but the card was about mental transformation. And it talks about Cirrus. And it says, beliefs, habits, and mental attachments cause most of the distress that we experience as humans. Sometimes we don't even realize we have them. Now that we are making a planetary transition, it requires us to let go of these obstacles to true awakening. Our future Cirrus friends who have released these obstacles can help us with this because they provide loving guidance to help us navigate our transition. This card asks you to be truthful about your limiting beliefs and habits, even the positive ones, and open yourself up in new and flexible ways of thought and being. And so I'm going to read just a little bit more of this. It says the card accesses energy from the Sirian era. After they became an awakened species and transcended to the non-physical fifth density state, the Sirians from this era are a great model for humans because they were young and their species had many of the same challenges that now plague humanity. One of these challenges is that humans are often their own worst enemies because of their destructive thought patterns that continually sabotage spiritual growth and the transformation of the planet. When the Sirians were able to transcend their destructive mental patterns, they were able to make their planetary transitions with ease. If this card is in your spread, look to the other cards. Oh, we did that. Okay. So let me just make sure. The card may be acknowledging that you either have made it or have to make the shift, or that you are ready to move to make the shift to a new level of growth. So don't forget to open yourself up to more wisdom that the Sirians can share with you, and do not fear change, for wisdom always comes from this type of mental transformation. So I thought that was probably a better way, maybe not a better way, but a less abrupt way to word it than getting your head out of your ass. But either or works, I guess. So I think, while we want to encourage everybody to release their limiting beliefs, we have to understand how to do that, right? Because if we don't even know our belief is limiting, how do we know we have to release it, right? So as always, I always say that the moment you stop learning and the moment you stop searching is when things kind of collapse. So if you're constantly searching for your truth, searching for things that interest you, searching for knowledge, just knowledge in general, and you keep an open mind, these are things that are going to help with releasing limited beliefs. If it's something you always grew up a certain way, you believe this way because your parents believe this way. Those are things you might want to look at. Or you've had this belief your whole life and it just is what it is. Those are the things you want to kind of look at. But in order to do that, you have to be honest with yourself. And nobody's perfect. Like Maggie and I, we definitely are not perfect. And we struggle just like everybody struggles. And so it's okay to come face to face with yourself and have an honest discussion with yourself with things that are limiting in your life, because once you release that specific belief system and allow more to come in, you will probably be surprised at what all your guides and teams and everybody is trying to be like, hey, look, there's also this and this and this and this and this, and then you get to learn something new. So
I agree. And I also think that it's really important to recognize our limiting belief systems and recognize our belief systems in general, question where they come from. Did this originate from a place that I like? Can I change this? Is this something that's really set in stone, or can I believe something else? But to release those things, even the negative things, because we have believed certain things for the course of a lifetime, we kind of get attached to them, even stuff that makes us feel bad. Sometimes I relate to this. I don't know how many of you people out there, I don't know if that how many of you watching, sorry, relate to this too, but I used to be really, really depressed. I had a big issue with depression, and it's not fun to be depressed, but there is part of it that's kind of something that you can get attached to. When you're depressed, you can feel sorry for yourself. And sometimes it's kind of fun to feel sorry for yourself. And sometimes the people who love you when you're depressed, they come and they try to rescue you. And you can get kind of addicted to, lower vibrational belief systems or lower vibrational processes, because they give you, some kind of feeling of validation or satisfaction, or there are processes that will call other people to give that to you. So you have to realize also the things that even if you don't like a belief system or a conditioned behavior or thought, and you want to change it, you have to be willing to let go of those things. You can't you have to be willing to let go of the things about those things that sometimes comfort you, which for me was a difficult struggle to do. It's so complex and multifaceted. It's not that we hate these things, so we want to get rid of them. Obviously, they work for us in a certain way, or else we wouldn't have them still. So you need to look at it from all angles and be willing to detach in all the places that are necessary. If you want to reprogram in something higher or reprogram in something different, you have to be willing to detach even from the parts that do bring you comfort, because you can't keep some and then leave the other if you're really looking for change. I don't know if you have any thoughts about that, Temple.
I was just thinking about how you and I, as we were doing our work this week, we realized something really interesting about belief patterns and what can happen when either you as an individual or a group believes something that is not in the highest timeline energy. So if you believe someone did something, or if you believe someone is at fault for something, and you have these emotions of anger and hate and angst and sadness, and these are things that you're holding because it's what you've been taught, it's what you feel, and you don't even know sometimes why you feel them. The interesting thing that we learned this week was that those energies that you give out, because every emotion has a feeling. So when it's a repeating pattern, these emotions build and this energy builds, and it's a specific vibration of energy. Once that energy builds to a point that it can be used by people who know how to use energy, it can be used as, how do I want to say this? It can be used for things that are not so great. So we've actually termed this like spells. It can be used as spells, but it's interesting because as humans, we don't think of our belief systems or our emotions as hurting really anybody else. Like we think about it for ourselves. And I think that's one aspect of it. But when you're angry at somebody, it can hurt somebody else's feelings. But if you look in between that, you have all of this energy with these emotions and with these belief systems. And the more it builds, the more someone who knows how to manipulate that energy can come in and manipulate it and turn it into something it was never meant to be in the first place. Like you were just feeling a feeling. You didn't realize that this feeling actually produces something tangible. So you didn't know that you had to properly do anything with it. It was just there. But people who know how to use this energy come in, and then that is their food. That is what they can use to spell you, to spell others, to use it however they want, because it's a free for all. So I think one of the most interesting concepts that we've learned this week is to not only be mindful of your energy, it's good to feel things. Like that's the one thing we don't want. We don't want to not feel. We have to feel. Humans feel. And if we don't feel, then we're going to go down a not so great timeline. And we don't want to do that for the future. So we have to feel. But what we have to understand as a human collective is that it's okay to feel. It's okay to have this anger, have this pain, but we need to know how to process it, how to work through it, and how to ask for help from angels and guides to properly take that energy that we're putting out in that moment of having that feeling and either transmute it or do something with it. So it's not just there that it can affect others, or that others can take it and manipulate it and do with it what they want. And sometimes these energies even come back on you. So if you're not feeling, if you have this belief that's limiting, or this feeling that's limiting yourself in this moment, like, I don't feel I can do this, I'm not up to this task, I feel like there must be something wrong with me, these things can't exist that I'm experiencing, this energy can then be used against you to dump you back into lower I'll say lower timelines, but lower energy that could possibly put you in a lower timeline. So it's really complicated and intricate, but it's interesting. It's just something that I never even thought of before. So I think learning to be open to understanding why you're feeling a certain way, and then learning to properly release it and properly deal with the energy that you're putting out of it is a really great step to embracing your true awakening.
I agree. And I think that was very well explained, and it's not something that you can easily get into all the intricacies of in a few minutes. There's so much to it, and I can feel like Ra, trying to knock my door down right now, because I think he has a lot that he wants to say about this. So maybe instead of butchering it and trying to elaborate on what you said more, I will allow Ra to come through with his fire and say it in his raw way.
I can feel him in the back, like with his okay, it's time. I'm coming. It's time. I got a lot to say. So it's just so funny. I'm glad you picked up on that.
Yeah, he's been excited, like Temple said. Oh, my camera's funny. He's been excited for this all week.
It's probably Ra hanging out.
It is him. So if you guys who are watching have any questions for him about your belief systems or things that you might be going through that you would want some raw advice on, and any transformations you want to go through, please put them in the chat, and we will get those questions to him and he will answer.
Yes. This is something he's very passionate about, and he wants to help you guys. So yes. Those of you watching, if you have questions, put them down. Please put them down. Yes. Maybe when you start channeling him, he'll get out of the camera. Yeah.
So that he can come through. I have to use the bathroom really, really quick. I'll be right back.
Okay. Oh, that's so funny. So, is there any topics that you guys feel that you want to talk about, because this is also something that we could bring up to him and he could just ramble on however he wants to ramble on about obstacles that you're feeling or what it means to really embrace your true awakening. I think it means a lot of things to a lot of people. Like when people say I'm awake, well, what does that mean? I mean, there's so many things that you can be awake in, right? Like, are you awake to energy? Are you awake to other dimensions? Are you awake to understanding how this planet really functions? Are you awake to communicating with our brothers and sisters galactically? I mean, there's so many things that you can be awake with. Awake is another one of those boxes that I rant and rave about, that I'm not sure what that was about, that I really think is a broad term for something that is so large. It's really hard to put specifics on it. So when people say, "Oh, I'm awake," I mean, what does that mean? So there's also this deal, and I'm sure Ra's going to talk about it, where being awake and self-sabotaging spiritual growth. When anytime you accept something that somebody says because you either want to fit in with the group or because you want to feel a part of a community without really checking with yourself, that's self-sabotaging your own true awakening also, in a way. And I'm sure Ra's probably going to mention a whole bunch of stuff. But all right, Maggie is back. So we will let her get into her channeling state. I'm not hearing you.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
I was just listening to the last portion of what you were saying. There's a really good book, if you guys are into spiritual books, called The Four Agreements, that really touches on, accepting what other people say about you, accepting what you say about yourself, and how words in that way have a real power to transform you, whether for good or for bad, whether for a positive awakening or like negative stuff. So I really recommend that book. My fiance is actually reading it right now, which I'm really excited about because it's hard to get him into stuff like this. So it's if he can read it and it's helping him, anybody can.
Isn't it interesting that I know like Daddy Raz wanted to come through, but I have to say this. Isn't it interesting that we talk about spells, about we talk about spells, we talk about words, and we talk about limiting belief patterns. Essentially, this all relates because when we speak, it radiates out, it vibrates out. Words are spells in a way, and I'm sure you guys have all heard this before, but it's important to say. And so if you struggle releasing things, it's really important to try to stop yourself from talking bad about yourself first. That would be the very first thing that would help the situation, because you don't want to keep spelling yourself with words.
Right, exactly. And Ra has talked about that a lot. I'm sure he will talk about it some this evening. He's saying he has so much this is such a large body of information that he is passionate about. If you could ask him some questions leading where you want it to go, I think that would be good. Or else you don't know where he's going to start and then where he's going to end up, with Ra.
Which that could be really fun too. You never know.
Yeah, I guess we'll see how it goes.
We'll see how it goes.
Okay. Greetings, my friends. I am Ra. How may I be of service to you tonight? I know that the topic tonight is self-worth, how to reprogram the belief system, how to reprogram the program of the human matrix. I have come to this planet at this time mainly to help the human collective with this. If you have any questions for me about this topic, I am here at your service this evening.
I don't think we have any questions at the moment. Do you want to explain? I don't know if our viewers know what the matrix is and how it could help reprogram their belief system. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that, or you have your own path you want to go tonight.
Which matrix? The matrix of reality, the human matrix, the matrix of the individual, the matrix of the collective. These matrices are all separate and yet also all interwoven. Which matrix would we like to work with tonight?
Whichever matrix you think would give the most help.
I will begin with the matrix of the individual human, for you are all individual humans that are first affected by your own personal matrices before you are affected by the ones which are outside of your personal being. The human matrix truly begins in the mind. The mind is like a computer program, my friends. The mind will take what it is given, should you accept it, and create the experience based on the program. From the time that you are very young, the external matrix programs the internal matrices of your minds with the information that serves the outward matrix the best. They want you to be a, a collective of sheep. They want you to be working for the good of those who are in control. And so through your schooling systems, through your family structures, through the beliefs that are passed down through generations, you are programmed as children. The program that I hate the most is the program where they tell young children to sit down, shut up, and listen. Children are by nature the most tapped into the universe. They are pure. They have not yet been through all of the heavy, dense programming that plagues adults by the time they get to that age. So to tell a human child to sit down, to shut up, and to listen is the single first and worst thing that happens to you in your lifetimes. Because as children, you are so tapped into the outer realms. Many of you saw aliens, saw spirits, saw elementals, saw other realities stacked on top of yours as children. And when you would speak about those things that were true, you were told that it was nonsense, that these other falsities that the matrix wants to project on you are true instead. If you want to transform yourself in a radical way, go back to this place in your personal histories, the time where you were told to sit down, to shut up, to listen, and break it from there. Say, I will not sit down for anyone else. I will not shut up for anyone else. I will listen to my own guidance, for that is the only guidance that I require. The guidance system within all of you as humans is the God self within you. God has a plan for each one of you that was untainted in your young ages, that you were guided to follow in your play, in your laughter, in your expression. That is why you see children as so beautiful. But so early and so tragically, it is snuffed out before it can even begin. If your collective was not programmed with this initial programming, your world would be such a beautiful place. You would all be telepathic. You would all be clairvoyant. You would all be clairsentient. Probably some of you could even fly, but no, it is snuffed out. This is what snuffs out the imagination. And it is the imagination which is in many ways the true magnetic force of a brighter reality, of an ascended reality. But you are told the imagination is fantasy, and what they tell you in school is truth, when in fact it is the opposite. Everything that is taught to you in school is by and large a lie, and the fantasies of elementals and unicorns and beautiful, strange realities that you saw as children, this is the truth of the universe. This is the truth of dimensions. And on your world, it is upside down, my friends. It is so upside down. So when you think that your truth be different, if you think that your voice be different, is wrong, this is where you need to start with yourselves. Do not tell yourselves, well, this can't be true what I am believing, so I'm not going to share it. This is silly because no one else is echoing what I am saying. It is a beautiful thing that no one else is echoing what you're saying, because you are channeling the truth of your soul. And if it sounds strange, even the more beautiful. And you do not have to go out straight away and say to the stranger on the street, hello, there is a unicorn in your yard. How amazing is that? You do not have to do that. That would be very difficult unless you were a very resilient person. But say it to yourself. Do not shut yourself down. Believe in all kind of fantasy just with yourself. And what is the consequence? Even if I am wrong, who will know? Who will know? But I am correct in this, in that you will bring in a greater sense of wonder, hope, and joy in your lives when you allow yourself to think again how you did when you were children. And Temple is very correct. Words are spells. The vibration of the word echoes out through this room, through the wood of the walls, through the glass of the windows, into so many places you would not imagine. The power of the human voice has the ability to create new worlds, new realities. You simply have to look at the dictators of your world, the atrocities of your past, how they were formed out of the words and opinions of a single person to know that this is true. Is this helpful enough as a beginning? Would you like me to go anywhere else?
I think this is wonderful. Am I muted? No, I'm not. I think this is wonderful, Father. And I think everybody is just interested in listening to what you have to say tonight. So if there is anything else that you would like to touch on about this topic, I think everybody would love to hear it.
One moment. Let me tap into the collective. My friends, as I am tapping into your fields, there is so much sadness in the place of the lower chakras. So many of you were abused as children, taught that your voice did not matter, taught that you were unimportant. My friends, my children, this is not true. I understand how you have gotten to the place where you believe these things about yourselves, where you have become timid and afraid of the world because the world has not treated you properly, because your families have not treated you properly. Let me tell you this, my friends. The world, your families have been blind. These things that you believe about yourselves, they are not true. These are beliefs, ideas, and thoughts that were born out of fear. Your parents feared the world, so they taught you these things out of fear, in some ways to keep you safe, and they did not know the damage that they were causing. And this is how it goes through generations, my friends. This goes back almost to the beginning of your human collective. The first humans were programmed with fear. There were groups on this earth who wanted to control this population because they saw how powerful of manifestors that you were. If only you could see the ripple effect that each individual emotion that your personal being feels has on the collective field, you would truly see your power. You would truly see your power. But your emotions have been used against you. They have been weaponized against you. They have been weaponized against your person, keeping you in judgment of yourselves, in judgment of those around you, to keep you in control. If you are busy judging yourself, if you are busy judging your neighbor, you do not have the time or the energy to judge the ones who are truly in control, who are truly creating the miserable state that the world is in today. Be cognizant, my friends, of your emotions. Your emotions are your greatest tool for manifesting, and they can be used in every possible transformative way. But you have been raised in a society where the emotion controls the person and the person does not control the emotion. This, my friends, is not as it was meant to be. You were gifted with the power of your emotions because you are a beautiful species. You are a beautiful race who God saw could create a beautiful reality of love, of joy, of acceptance, a more beautiful reality, in fact, than he had ever created before. But it was turned around because your emotions were hijacked, and with your emotions, your mind. Notice that when you feel an emotion, your brain rushes to find reasons for this emotion. Oh, it must have been my husband who did this. He has wronged me so. So I will send this negative emotion at him and I will blame it on him. If you are feeling sadness, you are feeling failure, you say to yourself, well, I'm not worthy of anything. I messed that thing up. I am a failure. And you direct that emotion at yourself, that negativity at yourself, which is such a negative agenda, my friends. When you feel emotions arise in your being, you must know that these emotions are your life force energy. They are your power, and you have the power to master these things. If you are feeling a lower emotion, you have the power to control it. See the thoughts that it brings to your mind, but be careful, my friends, not to attach to those thoughts or send those thoughts out, because that is what those who are in control want. They want you sending this negativity everywhere so they can latch onto it, grab it, and have an even greater control over your reality. If you grab onto it for yourself, ask God to help you. Ask the angels to help you. Ask Gaia to help you. Say, please, I am feeling this negative emotion. I do not want to be run by this emotion. Help me. And listen. Tap into your heart. Listen for what comes then. I can guarantee you it will be very, very different than the story that your mind is telling you. You have a great power here. Do not allow the emotions of your body to run your life. Even if you cannot do these things, even if you cannot wield them and send them in a positive way, simply allow yourself to sit with these emotions. At the end of the day, they are physical feelings like any other feeling. Like a mosquito bite, like a bruise, an emotion in the body feels quite similar. If it does not please you, the worst thing that you can do is get yourself in a tizzy about it, because it is a self-feeding loop that will make it bigger and bigger and bigger. If you can sit with it without judgment of yourself or anyone else long enough for it to pass, it will pass much more quickly. And that is a good start. I am simply here to remind you of the power that you have over yourselves. If you have a thought come into your mind that you do not prefer, you have the power to change it. My advice is, if you feel yourself judging yourself or another in a way that does not bring you joy, catch that thought and flip it on its head. I am not worthy, for example. You are worthy. Every one of these thoughts that comes into your mind is a lie that has been programmed within you. I am not worthy. Yes, you are. Take the emotion. Yes, I am worthy. Yes, I am worthy. Yes, I am worthy. Repeat it at least 3 times through your heart, through the filter of your heart. Most powerfully can the programs of the mind be changed, because the power of the manifestation of the feeling through the heart has, you do not even know, an unlimited power of creation. Feel these things and know that you can change them. Do not let your emotions run you. Do not let your programming run you, for one feeds the other. When you feel a negative emotion and allow it to run you, it solidifies the program, the story that you have about that emotion in your mind. And when you repeat these stories in your mind, it fuels the emotion, which fuels the mind, which fuels the emotion, which creates these seemingly unpenetratable realities and ways of living about you. But my friends, you have power over each and every one of these things. Yes, it takes discipline. Yes, it is a practice, But what do you have to lose? If you are in a state where you are unhappy, what do you have to lose by trying these things? By getting into a practice? It will build on itself, my children, my friends, it will build upon itself. And in a few months, you will look back on where you are today and not even recognize that person. I have seen it happen so many times. And if each human would take the time, even for 1 or 2 thoughts a day, to do these practices, to recognize their power, to recognize the power they have, to reprogram their hearts and minds, what a different place your world would be. I do not know if I am rambling now. Is there anything else you would like me to touch or clarify upon if I have not been clear enough?
I think you have been wonderfully clear, Father. I have asked for questions. However, the chat seems a little dead tonight. So if there was something else you wanted to touch on, that would be great. Or also, I was thinking about if you wanted to, when you decide to head out, if you could possibly give some codes maybe to help everybody with opening the fifth ray, opening their heart, so they can better understand these things. Because I think the biggest problem in releasing limiting beliefs for the humans on this planet is that they were completely taught to ignore the heart and completely focus on the brain. So I think we need to somehow help get the heart going again in a way in which those listening could benefit and feel that there is a connection there. I think so many have lost that connection with their heart. I think people talk about the heart this, the heart that, love this, love that, but I don't think we really, as a human collective, know what that means anymore. I think the brain has just taken over everything.
That is wonderfully said, my daughter. The heart is where it all starts. The mind is not in many ways trustworthy. The mind will tell you lies because the mind has been programmed so thoroughly. The body of the heart, the center of the heart, is a mind within itself. That is why they are always saying, listen to your heart. Your heart has its own chakra system. Your heart has its own eyes. Your heart has its own ears. But you, as a human collective, are so conditioned to think that everything happens through the mind. Everything must be logical according to the mind. This is a form of slavery. The heart will not lie. The heart is a place of unfiltered truth. The mind is a program. It can be programmed to believe anything. If you can learn to connect the heart to the mind, then your system, your way of being will be more cohesive. The heart and the mind have been so disconnected, and that is why so many of you feel so much pain. Your brain tells you one thing and your heart aches because it is not right, my friends. The heart and the mind should be working in synchronicity. It should be through the love of the heart, through the truth of the heart, that the mind is programmed. But because the mind has been disconnected, severed from the heart, the mind is filled with all of these programs and thoughts that put you at war within your own bodies, because the heart wants to feel one thing and the brain is telling it that it is wrong. It should be the heart receiving a truth and telling the brain how to program based on the truth of the heart. That is how you were truly meant to be programmed as human beings. That is the way that you shine. And you are correct, my daughter. The heart will bring you everything that you need. I will give some energy to help keep you in the place of your hearts. I would encourage you, as my daughter Temple often says, to turn off your mind for just a few moments a day. The mind is a greatly, greatly overworked organ. It does so much work that other places in the body should be working. The chakras should be aligned with the mind, and they should all be carrying their own share of energy, but you put it all on the mind. Why, my friends, do you think that you are so tired in the space of the head? You cannot keep your eyes open. You cannot keep your thoughts focused because your mind was not meant to be working this hard to process everything in the world for you. It was not meant for all of these functions. That is why you have other energetic centers in the body. The heart being the primary driving force. It should be from the heart that all of these things happen. Why do you think that all of the blood from the body is pumped out through the heart to other places? If the mind was meant to be doing all of this work for you, it would be from the mind where the blood is sent out and filtered. This is not true. This is basic anatomy that should tell you where you should be focusing. Yes, thank you for bringing that up. If there are no questions, I will send some energy to help release some of the tethers that are placed upon the mind and help you to reconnect with the peace and truths of your heart. Is that all right for me to do now?
Yes, I think now would be a good time.
Will you please join me, my daughter? After I speak, would you please add your energy to the collective field of energy?
Of course, Father.
Wonderful. Thank you, my friends, for letting me speak tonight. I understand that these concepts sound at times difficult to apply. They sound like spiritual and philosophical concepts, and I understand that that is frustrating. However, they are simple to apply if you have the dedication to apply them for yourselves. To say something positive 3 times in a row about yourself and allow your heart to feel it is not a difficult task. It may seem difficult because you are so comfortable with being down on yourselves. The difficult part is breaking through the discomfort about believing good things about yourself and others. If you can break through that discomfort, you will find the world is a much more beautiful and loving place, and you are much more powerful and worthy than they have ever told you. My friends, do not believe their lies any longer. Believe all of the good truths about yourself because they are true. And I want to have said that. Thank you again for letting me speak tonight. La'aka e kata lukutu, ma la'aka tolo kuta akatile e kata. Mono ishtata ti ketele ene kutuli kitela ata. Monto roha sati lata sata tundu asata. Mondo kitaya sutukute asatu usikiti inikiti. Manda sutu tikaya tosoki alahata likita alakono. Mala nanati siti. Yanta su sila ahata. No lo oso katali ikiti. Monto kita satila ata sukula akato no osaka. La e kato ruha. Na a la ahata te e. Uholo ona maalahati likha ete. Ekele ete tu maala ata si ikiti I. Ishaha. Mono uta'a. I wish you peace, my friends.
Muto skoto koliata ka anata kuapa te kiutukut anask atikulu moshoto kalahana rataku putulukha nahyata kushukoto kulo mayato diakolo makiato tiskdiaka naskupoto kolonia takatikia tuko onuskut utkiat it Bushkutiata kolono mataka naskatiata lopo Katiata, Boskotolo, Onoskotoboyata, Yalakototia, Paskutapa, Pukuho, Got, it, at, ut, Gut, Yalakat, it, Waskiat, Mudiat, Quap, Yak, Hashokana Qua, Kieshukudoloma, Mashukuto, Kalaniaskata, Buhohonota, Muko, Lashuata, Baskatiata, Ra, Boko. Namaste. That was amazing.
Yeah, he was really, usually he comes through as very fiery, and with Rod, the get your head out of your ass energy is very apparent.
Yeah.
He was feeling a great deal of compassion for everyone tonight. I think I don't know if he didn't see it before, maybe he's just harder on me and you, but he was really compassionate for how difficult it is to be a human and be underneath all of this programming and try to claw your way out of it. He really recognizes that it's not easy, and he's saying, I hope that it was helpful how I said it. But it was helpful how he said it. It's always helpful.
Yeah, definitely. And also, so I've had Michael here like halfway through, and he's like, oh, that's a really good point. Oh yeah, I can add something to that. And so I don't know, I feel like he wants to come through and just say a few things.
Sure, bring him through.
Now keep in mind, everyone, that Maggie has Maggie's channeling is amazing. She channeled a lot more than I have. I'm always like making Maggie channel instead of me, so I haven't had that much practice lately. But I feel that it's very important to him to be able to say the few things that he wants to say. And so again, if you have questions, I'm sure he would take them. So yeah, do you have anything you want to?
Nothing. I was just going to say he balances Ra really, really well. Like their energies are a great yin yang for each other.
He does. I can totally see them both going to like the ice cream truck.
Like an odd couple.
Yeah, right? And like getting ice cream and then like seeing the dogs, like, or the cats or the dogs or whatever come, like the homeless ones. And then you're like, oh, let's give our ice cream to like the cats and dogs. Like, and they would just go away happy as ever. Like, just chatting back and forth.
I love that image.
I totally feel that. All right, let me grab a few more blueberries here. We'll see. And if I am not able to bring him through, I will just repeat what he says. I think I should be able to bring him through, though. So
I'll be able to bring him through.
All right. I also thought it was really cute how he's like, well, my daughter Temple says all the time to shut your brain off. Because I was just thinking, brain, you have to turn off right now.
Yeah, he's very proud of you for that one.
It was, like in the beginning, I was thinking to myself, well, how the hell do I get my brain to like shut off? Like it's just something that's always on. But it's amazing what happens when you start commanding your body to do things.
Right.
Because I think that's part of it that the human collective misses or doesn't quite understand, that we all understand that we are just spiritual beings here in this body, that, this is our vehicle. But I think sometimes we get lost in it and we forget that we're the ones in charge. Mm-hmm. So that will help also. Like if you tell your brain to shut off, it may not seem like it's working right away, but you have to be persistent and you have to be like, dude, like you may have forgotten, but I'm in charge. So I really need you to shut off because now you have to work with the heart and it will happen. It will happen. I do. I mean, I tell my body things all the time, like with my jaw, I'm always saying things like, you need to heal yourself. I command you to heal yourself. And I would say every single time I do that. Now, it's not like I can just say it once. I can't just say, okay, I have like a wound, or I'm like, you have to heal yourself fast and then just be done with it. Forget about it. It takes actual concentration and an actual belief that you have the power to do it. So there's a few things happening here. And it takes persistence. So you have to like devote that much time and energy per day to the problem. So, for example, if you're learning to shut your brain off and working through your heart, you have to tell your brain, I'm shutting you off. I'm going to work through my heart, or you have to go through the heart first. And you have to do that every day and like think about it for at least a couple of minutes, like not think, feel it for just a couple of minutes every day. And it'll get easier as you go. And even if like the first day you're like, okay, brain, you need to shut off, and it's the heart now that's going to be in control. And if you just say, I'm tuning into the heart, 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 I'm tuning into the heart. If you just say that over and over and over, you will tune into the heart because you're telling your body to do so, versus just sitting there and being like, okay, I'm not really feeling anything, So I think part of it is taking control of yourself, because in the end, I was thinking about this as I was doing shipping. In the end, it's only you who are going to get yourself anywhere. It's nice to have friends. It's nice to have the communities that you can feel safe in and that you can talk to people to and stuff like that. But even if they reach out to you and you're sad and they're trying to comfort you, it's not them who's going to get you back on your feet.
Right.
It's you. And so you have to learn to have a good relationship with yourself and your body and your thought process and your heart. And you have to just learn how everything works together. And I think part of the whole fact of them controlling us is that they don't teach us any of this. They don't teach us to love ourselves, to look at our body as something that we are in charge of. Mm-hmm. They always want to be in charge of it. But the reality of the situation is we can let them be in charge of it if we so choose. But really, we're the ones in charge. And we can take that back anytime. Mm-hmm. Anytime. We can take back our thought processes. We can take back our bodies. We can take back our magic. We can take back anything. It's ours to do so. We just have to want it bad enough and have to realize how important it is for the growth of yourself. And then as you grow, it ripples out to the collective. So, okay, I think I rambled on.
No, that was really great. To add upon that really great thing that you just said, I just wanted to say, when I was trying to reprogram myself to be in the heart instead of overworking my brain so much, I was really hard on myself. And if I couldn't stay in the heart long enough, and if my brain would come back in, I'd be like, shut up, like, why aren't you doing what I tell you to do? I was just like kind of flogging myself. You don't have to do that. Your brain is used to being on all of the time. So even if you tell it to shut off and go into the heart, mm-hmm. It's like a muscle memory. Your muscle is going to want to do what it's used to doing. And you don't build a large bicep in a single day. It takes a while to train a muscle in a different way. So be kind on yourself. If you can stay for an instant and then you pop back in, say, but you can rest right now. We're not doing this right now. Go back into the heart. And you might have to do that like a bunch of times, but over time it gets simple. But it's much simpler if, you're not hard on yourself and judging yourself about it, because it just takes some dedication and some conditioning. And that's not to say that it's difficult. It's just to say that you're building a new muscle, and that's okay. And you can be really kind to yourself about it, because you're not supposed to be good at it right away, because you you've been so taught to do it in a different way. So you're doing it right no matter how. You're doing it as long as you're being kind to yourself.
Right. And even to, like Ra was talking about, the childlike people that we start out to be. To treat your brain how you would treat a small child who's just learning things, that is a really good way to start out too, because then that also gives you compassion for yourself. So, yeah.
Exactly.
All right. So funny because he's just, I don't know. I'll let him talk. Oh, maybe I should switch that. Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Michael. And I wanted to talk to you today just a little bit to kind of piggyback off things that Ra had mentioned. I wanted to talk about the belief system of yourself and true awakening and where that's really found and what it really means. So let's just start with the heart, because the heart is extremely important. There's a reason I always talked about the heart. I was always talking about love. I was always talking about the heart. And Ra touched on this, and this is where I want to start. So it's very important. Everybody talks about, well, when I awaken, how am I going to know what I'm going to do? Or what do I do to awaken? And the answer is so simple, everybody. You need to listen to your heart. The heart will tell you exactly what to do, and the heart will help you feel the feelings that will lead you in the right direction. The brain is supposed to be there to assist the heart. So let me give you an example. If you feel that you want to give the world a song, this comes from your heart. And then you use your heart and your brain to work together in order to write the lyrics. So there are things that work in tandem with each other. However, if you simply rely on your heart, if you simply rely on your brain to get you places, to do the logical thinking, you can get there. But in the end, it's going to be missing something. It's going to be missing you. Because if you're not in tune with your heart, you will change. And then you will wonder who you have become. Who is this person that is staring back at you in the mirror? The heart is meant to keep you on your path, everyone. It is so important. You need to keep the heart with you while you're walking your paths through life. The brain is there for the logical information. It's there to help you stay alive. It's there to help give you good information to put two and two together. But that's only part of it. You don't want to look in the mirror one day and say, who is this person staring back at me? You don't want to do that. And sometimes the heart, even though it leads you where you need to go, even though it shows the way, you feel it, you know it, those are the steps you have to take. Even though the brain may say, oh, well, you've never done this before. This is dangerous. Or people may not like this. This is not something you should do. This is not the norm. This is something completely out of the ordinary. You can't do this because you have to stay in your box. It's all the more reason to listen to your heart. In my life, I listened to my heart. It was my guiding light. And there's no way I could have gone as far as I did with having my brain in charge. It doesn't work like that. Sure, you can make millions. You can do amazing things with your brain. You can invent stuff. But you lose pieces of you along the way. And the way this society has kept each and every one of you in this box, they want you to lose yourself. They want you to lose these pieces that unite you not only with Mother Earth, Father and Mother God, the sun, the moon, the elements, nature. They want you to lose all of this because these are the things that guide you home. These are the things that talk to your heart. Remember, your heart is a brain. Your heart thinks, your heart feels, your heart calculates. Your heart is an amazing piece of machinery. This organ does so much that your doctors and your scientists haven't even figured out yet. Some of this information is just on the precipice of coming out. But what you need to know to step into your awakening state is all found in here. It's all found in here. And if you don't know what that feels like, then you need to sit with yourself and you need to talk to the trees and you need to find the joy that you would have if you were a child, because the children are automatically in tune with their heart. They know and they feel. And that's why it's so hard when you're a child and you have parents yelling at you to do these things, because it's not second nature to you. This is out of the ordinary. This is them putting you in that box. You need to come out of your box. The time is now for all of you to come out of the box that society has you in, to find your own joys, to find your own path, to start listening to your heart again. The heart of this planet is growing as you grow. So you must learn to recognize the importance of it in order to facilitate the next stages of your growth. Are there any questions?
Not at this time. If anyone has any questions for Michael Jackson, Temple is channeling Michael Jackson right now, please do put them in the chat. I'm sure that he would love to answer them for you. I have a question.
Yes, Megan.
I know that many of us who are in the spiritual world hear about spirit guides and our spirit teams, and we're connected with all of these soul family, star family guides, elements, God, but so many people have trouble tapping into that wisdom, that guidance. They feel that through the brain, they're not getting anything. Do you have any simple exercises for us, those of us listening, on how to receive that guidance through the heart, how to really hear the higher guidance that so many of us are seeking at this time?
That's a great question. My advice would be to get outside, to sit or lay or at least have bare feet on the grass, and to just spend a few moments every day looking up at the clouds and seeing what shapes you can make out. Because that simple task of doing this is going to get you back in touch with what it felt like as a child and what it felt like to use your imagination and not be stifled. And that's going to open up the pathways that have been shut off for you to feel that connection in a greater way.
Beautiful.
Haven't you ever done that, Maggie? Don't you love looking at the clouds?
I do love doing that. And I do often do what you're saying when I'm feeling lost or I'm just too much in my head. I'll go out and look at the clouds. And even if I don't hear anything, even if I don't hear my guides, they'll often send me a cloud in the shape of an animal. And then I can go look up that animal, and that spirit animal is telling me something about the situation that I'm in or giving me a way to go forward. So I think that tapping into the clouds is a wonderful way to start, because in my experience, the clouds always give you something.
I know. I know. I love looking at the clouds. I loved looking at the clouds. And there's always something you can find in them. And it's such an easy way to use your imagination. It's an easy way to turn it back on.
Yes, that is beautiful advice. Thank you so much, because anybody can do that. Anybody can look at the clouds and use their imagination. Thank you so much. Val does have a question. I don't know if this is something that you can answer, but she said, yes, I would love to know if I have any guides, and if so, I would love to know their names.
Let me see if I can tap it. I am picking up a guide that is actually trying to get through to you and trying to send a message to you. She said her name was Ashrua. And so let me see if I can. She just said, look for me in the clouds. I will give you a message in the clouds. So, but yes, there is a guide named Ashrua. There are many more. I do also see a dragonfly guide as well. I'm seeing a lot of animals come forward for you. There is a bear and a snake. There is also let me see what race. You have an Andromeda guide as well. They are excited. They are excited to connect with you. So yes, feel free to look up in the clouds and see if they give you an answer, give you a message.
Thank you so much, Michael. I know that there's so much information about tapping into the heart, and there's so much that can be accessed through there that I'm not quite sure if I have a specific question to ask about it. Do you have any other insight or anything else that you would like to share about the body of the heart from your experience for our audience today?
Well, I could talk for hours about the heart. It is, in my opinion, one of the most important organs of the body. But there's so much there as well. As many of you know, the heart is associated with the heart chakra, which is green, which is also associated with the fifth ray. And we probably need a episode to talk about that, because I would love to come through and talk about how the heart relates to music, and how the vibrations can actually attune the heart with the energies that you need. So this is something that you could even do while looking at the clouds. Pick the right music, pick the right vibrations that get you in tune with what you want to feel. If there's a specific song that you enjoy that makes your heart sing, or a specific melody that you learned as a child that brings back those happy memories, those are all things that are based in the heart. And that's where it all stems from. And so those alone can change your vibrations. So when you are feeling down or not feeling worthy, music is a great way to get you back up to that place that you should be at, because it will help change the vibrations around you and change the aura and change the vibration of the chakras and all the energy centers that are located around your body.
I have noticed that when I'm not feeling great, I'll go on a walk and put on some happy songs that I like, and in 15 minutes by the time that I get home, I feel like a different person, and it's always almost a miracle to me, the way that musical vibrations can change your whole day. It feels like a miracle to me sometimes.
And it is a miracle because many people think that the music interacts with the brain only. The music actually first interacts with your heart. And very few people know that. But that is
so interesting.
Because while the brain can also change the frequencies around you due to its feelings or what it's trying to tell you, the heart can change it faster. So if you're listening to that music that you enjoy, that fills you with love and compassion and makes you feel wonderful, that will change your vibration faster than the brain could ever change your vibration. The brain may analyze the music, analyze the words, maybe analyze the notes or the structure of the music if you understand that. But the heart can feel it, and that's all that needs to happen. It's all that needs to happen.
Is there a difference, Michael, in listening to music and I guess creating music within yourself, singing or playing an instrument or just drumming on the table? Is it stronger if you do it within yourself, or is it equally as strong if you listen to it in the way that it can affect your vibration? Because I know for myself, I would love to sing and sometimes I like to do it, but I feel so embarrassed about it because I don't think that I have a nice voice, but I also know the power of your own voice to change your vibration is great. And I was wondering if you could talk about that at all.
So this is twofold. There's actually a couple things happening here. When you create music, there's a lot that's going on. You're receiving the joy because you're tapping into source, tapping into Gaia, however you create music and tap into. So you're receiving the vibrations of that, plus you're receiving the joy from doing something that your heart enjoys, that brings you pure joy. And that plus then listening to the music. Do you see what I'm saying? There's two things going on here. So you can listen to music and be uplifted. But if you create it, it creates itself in a different way where, because you're utilizing so many of the energy centers, you're connecting the brain and the heart. You're using the eyes to write the notes on the paper. You're using your lips and your mouth and your vocal cords to sing this. It does, how do I want to say this? It does make it different, but does not downgrade only listening to it. So to bring your greatest joy forward and create something that you can give to others or something that can be sent out to the world is a wonderful gift. And that can bring you extra comfort, that can bring you extra joy, extra peace. Whether if you're just listening to it, you can see those and feel those, but it may not be as expansive as creating.
I see. Thank you so much. I'm sorry to keep asking you so many questions, but what would you say? I know that the creation of music through the voice is a powerful healer in many ways. It's a powerful tool to change the vibration. What would you say to those of us, myself included, who have the belief system that we don't have a nice voice for singing or for toning. So we have been taught to avoid it because we've been taught that our voices are not beautiful.
You just answered your own question, my dear.
I guess I wanted to hear your opinion.
Oh, my opinion is the same. This is the problem. The only reason they would say your voice is not good is to cut you down from receiving the good vibrational energy that comes from creating, comes from lifting yourself up and giving gifts to the universe. Every voice is special. Every voice is loved. In different societies, every voice is different. There's no good voice. There's no bad voice. There's voices that some prefer to listen to over others, but there is in no way meant to lock you out of something that brings you joy. You may not be the best singer in the world or be able to sing professionally, but if it's something you enjoy, get some lessons. You can work towards these things. Society is so different. They expect you to be a certain way, and that's what denotes if you're worthy or not worthy. And that's something that I absolutely cannot stand. I cannot stand that. But the truth of it is, raise your voice, raise it, do the toning, because that in itself is a method to clean and clear your energy. And they don't want you to know that. They don't want you to know that if you sing, if you hum, if you tone, all these things are a way for you to tap in and change the energy around you. And it can change you and it can turn you on the right path. But if they block it out from the beginning, if they block out that mechanism for you to better understand yourself and better listen to your heart and hear what your heart has to say, it's easier for them to manipulate. So Maggie, my dear, sing. Everybody, you must sing, because this opens and connects you to the third ray, which connects you into your heart.
Thank you so much, Michael. That was beautiful. And I know that I did answer my own question a bit, but it was nice to hear it in your words, because that's not a way that I have heard it described before, and you just describe it with such a positivity that inspires me that I can do it. And sometimes it's hard to find that own inspiration within the self, especially I know that so many of us have been conditioned to believe that we need to be quiet, and so many people have so many beautiful things to say or to sing, but they're afraid to use their voice because they're afraid to sound different or to be different. I think the voice is such an attacked thing. Our voices are something that have been shut down for so long. Do you have, maybe you could leave us with a blessing or with some words to help us empower the body of our voices? Because I know that a lot of us could probably use it.
Yes, but before I go, I want to mention this. Did you know that in today's society, those that have the most unique voices are the ones that they're looking for to raise into superstars? They don't want the cookie cutter voice anymore. They want people with really unique voices. However, having that said, it has to fit within their spectrum that they find unique. So who's to say that just because they find this spectrum unique, that this spectrum isn't unique over here?
Very well said.
It makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
It makes no sense. So yes, please sing. Sing as loud as you can. Bring joy to yourself. Bring joy to the world. It's only through you guys working on yourselves that this is going to work. You have to be able to see the lies that they feed you every day, every moment of the day. You have to open your eyes to be able to see this. Because if you don't, then we're doomed. If you don't, this planet can't move into the next phase that it's supposed to. And it's not like it's going to happen. It's going to happen depending on how many people realize what's all been manipulated around their energy fields, till they realize how they've been enslaved, how they realize that they're trying to take out that part of you that makes you unique. And I had to fight against that my whole life, to stay unique and to stay me. And it wasn't easy, but it was worth it. Okay, I'm going to go now, and I will leave you with a blessing.
Thank you, Michael.
Namaste. May the wind whisper music to your ears. May the sun shine on you and open your eyes. May the earth clean out all of the baggage and the shackles that this world has put on you, so that you can stand and sing in your beautiful voice and be yourself and find your path to follow your journey and to experience your enlightenment. Blessings.
Thank you so much.
I'm not even facing the camera.
Michael likes to go like this when you do.
Because he can't stand still. He can't sit still.
That was beautiful. I loved hearing what he had to say. He's so positive.
He is. And like, sometimes, I'm going to be a very human here. Sometimes when I have problems and I need him to like kind of give me direction, sometimes I'm like, can't you just be like angry with me for just a little bit? And he's like, no, because there's no need to be angry. Like, just be happy. Right. Okay. So yeah, he's pretty cool. So I hope that, I have no idea what he said. I'm trying to like think back to like stuff he was talking about. Then I was like, Michael, I don't think it's the third ray. I think it's the fifth ray. So I don't know, he may have said third ray, but I think he meant the fifth ray. So in any case, yeah, that was pretty cool.
That was great. I did hear him say third ray, and I don't know anything about the third.
Maybe there's something to that.
It's possible that he was talking about two different rays.
It's very possible. I don't even know what the third ray is. Does anybody know what the third ray is? This is probably something I should be looking up later. But I'm so fascinated by like the ideas of these rays, because this is something that ray 3, ray 4, ray 5, ray 2. So ray 2 is blue. Wait, no, I was saying ray 3. What was going on? I don't know. I am in that stage when you like come out of channeling where like you think you know what you're talking about, but you really have no idea because you're still in that wooziness.
Mm-hmm.
So just
that was a great channeling.
Everything
he was very integrated with you.
So anyway, it would be interesting, I think, to talk about the rays. I don't know anything about them. So it would be very cool to see what that is all about and have them come through. Because I'm sure even Ra would probably have a lot to say about the different rays. I know they relate to chakras. So.
But that would be an interesting series to do, to bring in people who are masters of a certain ray. We should look into that.
Yeah, exactly. Is there anything else that we wanted to, I don't know how long we've been streaming.
It's 9:07 here. I don't know if there's anything else that I think that Ra and Michael covered so much this evening. And I really like how Michael brought in the stuff about the voice, because how we speak to ourselves is so related to what we believe about ourselves and what we believe about other people when we speak things into existence. Ed asked if he had missed Ra, and yes, I did channel Ra earlier, but if you had anything that you wanted to hear from him or anything specific you wanted to ask him, he talked about how we're programmed by, outside forces and how to deprogram ourselves. So if you have any questions about that, I would be happy to try to bring him through or get an answer for him. But except for that, I don't know if there's anything left that we have to cover after all of this.
I was just going to mention that when you were talking about Ra, talking about how important it is to talk about yourself in a positive way, Micah was saying in my ear that it's very hard to do that when they constantly are throwing stuff at you. But when you're in a position where that he used to be in, where he would have a choice, he could look at the tabloids, or he could just try to shut them off and find his zen, and remain in that. So it wasn't, because if you think how Ross said, words are spells, I think about these superstars, and I think Michael's right. It can really damage you if you don't know how to properly be in your heart place, to know who you are, and to know that to embrace your true path. And I think he knew his true path, and that's what allowed him to go as far as he did. Where I think, he was telling me that, sometimes it was just really hard, knowing some of the things that were said, and he could just get so sad about it. But then he would have to, he's and then I would go outside and I'd go by my tree, and but just to pull himself out of that and realize that it doesn't matter what other people think of you. You have to do you. And if you don't do you, that's actually doing a disservice to the world, because think of all the people like Einstein, or just people that did walked their own path, and people thought they were not quite right in the head, or they weren't quite with it, or they were, a little too out there. But in the end, it actually turns out that years and years later, people are like, oh, wow, hey, back when so-and-so was already talking about this, and now we know that this is the case. And so I think it's really important. A lot of us here on this planet at this moment are the forerunners for bringing in information and thought processes that in the future will be accepted and implemented. But where we are now in the process of the true awakening of the planet and its people, it may be hard for some people to hear this information. And that doesn't even mean that every single person on YouTube or every single person that you guys listen to has the truth. You need to know what your truth is. And if it's not somebody else's truth, that's okay. Because Michael's if I had listened to everybody who told me things, he's I would have never gotten anywhere. I would have just done nothing, because I would have not been good enough. I would have, people would want to steer me in a different direction. And I had to do what I had to do. And you all have to do what you have to do. And it's easier when you can embrace yourself, and it's easier when you kind of understand how to connect into your heart, so you can take charge of the energies around you. I think that's so important, to learn to take charge of what is around you and know that you're sovereign. Sometimes I still do this too. Like I invoke my sovereign self on this planet and say, this is the deal. Like, this is what is going to happen, because I say it's going to happen, because I invoke my sovereign free will. And I think a lot of people don't realize how that whole free will thing works. You can either work with it and accept it in your life, or you can let someone else take your will away. It is what it is. You have the free will to do what you want to do or think how you want to think. But you also have the free will to allow other people to take that away from you and insert what they think you should think, and they think how you should be. So, and with that, I think that is a pretty good stopping point for tonight. I hope you guys have found some, Michael calls them seeds. He talks about like how he likes to plant seeds because then they grow and then you figure it out. So I hope you guys found some good seeds that you can plant within yourselves today from our little chat with Ra and Michael. And I hope that you guys continue to grow in your own true awakening and own true selves, whatever that means for you. And I hope you find the courage to keep releasing limited belief systems about yourself and the world around you and all of that stuff. So other than that, should we give closing blessings and then we'll head out?
Yeah.
Anything more you want to add?
I did have a thought that I wanted to add to what you were saying.
Yeah.
You know, us being forerunners of a lot of these ascension energies and these new ideas that are going to uplift the planet, it's not always easy. And like Temple said, people aren't always going to agree with you. You know, when I channel, there are people who don't agree with me and they don't like what I have to say. And I'm sure that Temple has experienced that too. But it would be easy for me to get down on that when people don't resonate with me. But it's okay if not everybody resonates with you. Everybody's going to resonate with something different. And if, you know, your flavor isn't their flavor, that's cool. You know, there's something else for them. And it doesn't make what you're doing wrong in any way, because there are a lot of people who are going to resonate with what you have to say and your energy and your ideas and the beautiful person that you are. And I just want to have it said that even if another person or a bunch of people don't agree with what you have to say, or even don't like what you have to say or what you put out there into the world, you know, you have to let that be okay with you and know that despite that, you are still awesome and you're still a rock star and you're still here to spread your light in the way that you spread it. Ra is like in my head, he's like, don't let anybody dim your light. Exactly. Don't let anybody dim your light. Don't let anybody tell you how to be because they think that the world should be a different way. Everybody has a different truth. There are a billion different truths in the world, billions, because there are billions of us, and everybody's perspective and the way that everybody is valid and beautiful. So don't let anyone tell you that you should or shouldn't be a certain way, because that's part of the programming that we're trying to break. And it can be really hard when that happens. It's hard for all of us, but that's why we have, you know, that's why we do this on Wednesday. That's why we have our groups, because we want to help you guys and to help you know that you're great no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, no matter how you feel, what you want to say. It's all great and it's all beautiful. And I don't think that any part of you should be discounted because someone else isn't that same way. And I think that that's something that Ra always really, really likes to say too. He always says, why don't he always says, if they don't like it, they can go to hell. And I have to agree with the force and the truth of that statement.
Yes, very much so. Mm-hmm. All right. So Thank you guys. We're going to give a closing blessing. Please feel free to plant your feet on the ground. Put your hands up to join in your energy with us. Anytime, anywhere. Mota ki skutu bushukuto laka. Kakia shukuto no boto. Kishikatiatuko no matea. Skatiatuko. Galiano shukotopo. Holotias kiasho hono no niapa. Maskatiata. Naliato. Namaste.
Talistata sunuma leata sikisiti. Mohola hasata no husta kasati le asata. Mansa iki insayasata la ejata. Molohina iti mistikitisi. Yansa oso tasatata. Muruhasa tindaya sonomehe. Namaste.